Marcus Chen was fixing a broken water recycler in Section C when the alarms started screaming. The maintenance bay filled with red warning lights as his tablet buzzed with an emergency message. Unknown vessel approaching Earth's outer defense grid. All personnel to stations. He dropped his tools and ran toward the command center of Luna Station, his boots clanging against the metal corridors. As the station's chief engineer, Marcus had seen plenty of false alarms over the past 5 years. Space debris, malfunctioning satellites, even the occasional lost cargo hauler set off the sensors. But something felt different this time. The command center buzzed with activity when he arrived. Admiral Rodriguez stood at the main display, her face grim as she studied the incoming data. The massive holographic screen showed a ship unlike anything in their databases. It was sleek and crystalline, seeming to bend light around its edges in impossible ways. "How big is it?" Marcus asked, sliding up next to Communications Officer Park. "Massive, maybe 3 times the size of our largest dreadnought," Park whispered back. And Marcus, it just appeared out of nowhere. No jump signature, no engine trail. 1 second empty space, the next second this thing was there. Admiral Rodriguez turned to address the room. "All attempts at communication have failed. The vessel is not responding to any frequency we've tried. It's maintaining course directly for Earth at a speed that should be impossible." Marcus studied the readings on his personal tablet. The energy signatures coming from the alien ship were off the charts. Whatever powered that thing was beyond human understanding. But what worried him most was how easily it had bypassed their early warning systems. If this was an invasion, humanity was already at a massive disadvantage. "Sir," Park called out suddenly, "I'm getting something. It's not on any of our standard channels, but there's definitely a signal coming from the ship." "Put it through," the Admiral ordered. The speakers crackled with static, then cleared to reveal a voice. It was unmistakably female, speaking perfect English with a slight accent that sounded almost musical. "Greetings, people of Earth. I'm Zara Keth of the Valthura Empire. I come in peace seeking an audience with the one called Marcus Chen." Every head in the command center turned to stare at Marcus. He felt his blood run cold. How could an alien from across the galaxy know his name? He was just an engineer, nobody special. He fixed broken machines and kept the air recyclers running. There had to be some mistake. "I think you have the wrong person," Marcus said into his comm unit, his voice shaky. "I'm nobody important." The alien woman's laugh came through the speakers like silver bells. "Oh, Marcus Chen of Earth, you are far more important than you know. Your reputation has spread across the stars. The human who saved 12,000 lives during the Titan Station disaster. The man who designed the atmospheric processors that turned Mars into a garden world. You are exactly who I seek." Marcus remembered the incidents she mentioned, but they had happened years ago. How could news of those events have traveled to alien civilizations? And more importantly, why would they care about the actions of one human engineer? "What do you want?" Admiral Rodriguez demanded, stepping forward. "I want what is mine by right," Zara Keth replied. "I have traveled across the void between stars for one purpose. I have come to claim Marcus Chen as my husband according to the ancient laws of my people." The command center fell silent, except for the hum of computers and life support systems. Marcus felt like someone had just hit him with a plasma cannon. Marriage to an alien? This had to be some kind of joke or misunderstanding. "I'm sorry, but there must be some confusion," Marcus managed to say. "I've never met you. I don't know anything about your laws or customs. You can't just show up and claim someone as your husband." "But I can," Zara Keth replied, her voice taking on a more serious tone. "Among my people, when a warrior accomplishes great deeds that save many lives, they become eligible for marriage to members of the royal family. Your actions during the Titan Station crisis, where you risked your life to save others, marked you as a worthy mate according to our ancient traditions." Admiral Rodriguez stepped closer to the comm unit. "With all due respect, your customs don't apply to our people. Mr. Chen is a citizen of Earth, and he has the right to make his own choices about marriage." "Of course he does," Zara Keth agreed. "That is why I have come to court him properly as your customs demand. I will prove myself worthy of his affection through your human traditions of romance and courtship." Marcus rubbed his temples, feeling a headache coming on. This was insane. An alien princess had traveled across the galaxy to marry him, based on news reports of his engineering work. And now she wanted to date him to convince him to go along with it. "Look," he said into the comm, I appreciate the gesture, but this is all happening very fast. Maybe we should start with a simple meeting, face to face, before we talk about marriage or courtship or anything like that. That is acceptable, Zaraketh replied. I will dock my ship at your lunar station. However, I must warn you that my presence here will not go unnoticed by other powers in the galaxy. My people have many enemies, and some may see my marriage to a human as either an opportunity or a threat. Admiral Rodriguez and Marcus exchanged worried glances. The situation was getting more complicated by the minute. Not only were they dealing with first contact with an alien species, but apparently this alien came with political baggage that could put Earth in danger. How long before you reach us? The Admiral asked. I am adjusting my approach now. My ship will arrive at your station in approximately 6 of your hours. Zaraketh replied. I look forward to meeting you in person, Marcus Chen. I believe you will find our conversation most enlightening. The communication ended, leaving the command center in stunned silence. Marcus stared at the alien ship on the display, still trying to process everything that had just happened. 6 hours ago, his biggest worry had been fixing a broken water recycler. Now he was apparently the target of an alien marriage proposal that could have galactic consequences. Admiral Rodriguez placed a hand on his shoulder. Chen, I need you to prepare for this meeting. Learn everything you can about diplomatic protocols. We're flying blind here, and you might be humanity's best hope for handling this situation peacefully. Marcus nodded, though his mind was racing with questions. What did this Zaraketh look like? What were her people really like? And most importantly, what would happen to Earth if he said no to the most powerful marriage proposal in human history? He had 6 hours to figure out how to meet an alien princess who wanted to marry him. It was going to be the longest 6 hours of his life. Marcus spent the next 6 hours in the station's archive center, frantically reading everything he could find about first contact protocols and diplomatic customs. The materials were mostly theoretical since humanity had never actually encountered alien life before. Most of the guidelines seemed to boil down to, be polite and don't start a war. Dr. Sarah Martinez, the station's xenobiologist, had been called in to help prepare for the meeting. She sat across from Marcus at a table covered with tablets and coffee cups. Her dark hair pulled back as she studied alien ship schematics. The energy readings from her vessel are incredible, Sarah said, pointing to the data on her screen. Whatever technology they're using is centuries ahead of ours, maybe thousands of years ahead. If she wanted to destroy us, we couldn't stop her. That's encouraging, Marcus replied dryly, taking another sip of his 5th cup of coffee. Any theories about what she might look like? Based on the ship's internal atmosphere readings, she breathes something similar to our air. The artificial gravity is set to about Earth normal, which suggests her people might be roughly our size and weight. Sarah paused, studying more data. But Marcus, there's something else. The ship's bioscanners show only one life form aboard. She made this journey alone. Marcus looked up from his reading. Alone? She crossed the galaxy by herself? It appears so. Either she's incredibly brave or incredibly desperate. Maybe both. Admiral Rodriguez entered the archive center looking tired but alert. Chen, her ship is requesting permission to dock. Are you ready for this? Marcus stood up, smoothing down his best uniform. He had traded his engineer's coveralls for the formal dress uniform he usually only wore to ceremonies. As ready as anyone can be for meeting an alien princess who wants to marry them. Remember, the Admiral said seriously, you're representing all of humanity right now. Whatever happens in that docking bay, stay calm and be respectful. We don't know what kind of political situation we're walking into. The 3 of them made their way to Docking Bay 7, where a security team was already waiting. Marcus noticed the guards were armed, but had been instructed to keep their weapons lowered. The last thing they needed was to accidentally start an interstellar incident. Through the bay's transparent aluminum windows, they could see the alien ship approaching. Up close, it was even more impressive than the sensor readings had suggested. The crystalline hull seemed to shift colors as it moved, reflecting light in patterns that hurt to look at directly. Strange symbols glowed along its surface in what might have been writing or navigation markers. Docking clamps engaged, reported Chief Petty Officer Williams from the control booth. She's locked in tight. Atmospheric readings show the airlock is cycling through our standard protocols. Marcus felt his heart pounding as he watched the airlock indicators. Green lights appeared one by one as the system synchronized. Whatever was about to happen would change his life forever. He just hoped it wouldn't end it. The inner airlock door hissed open. releasing a small cloud of vapor that smelled like flowers and ozone. A figure stepped through and Marcus forgot how to breathe. Zaraketh was humanoid but clearly not human. She stood about 6 feet tall with pale blue skin that seemed to glow softly from within. Her hair was silver white and moved as if underwater, defying gravity in subtle ways. Most striking were her eyes, which were a deep purple color and seemed to contain tiny stars that actually twinkled. She wore what appeared to be ceremonial armor, made from the same crystalline material as her ship. It hugged her athletic frame while somehow managing to look both practical and elegant. A long cape flowed behind her, and Marcus could swear he saw galaxies swirling in its dark fabric. "Greetings, people of Earth," Zaraketh said, her musical voice even more beautiful in person. Her gaze swept across the assembled humans before settling on Marcus. "And greetings to you, Marcus Chen. You are even more handsome than the Galactic Information Network suggested." Marcus opened his mouth, but no words came out. Admiral Rodriguez stepped forward smoothly. "Welcome to Luna Station, Your Highness. I am Admiral Rodriguez, commander of this facility. We are honored by your visit." Zaraketh inclined her head gracefully. "The honor is mine, Admiral. Your people's reputation for courage and ingenuity has spread far beyond the system." She turned back to Marcus with a smile that made her skin glow brighter. "But I am particularly eager to speak with your talented engineer." Thank you," Marcus finally managed to say. "Your ship is incredible. The technology must be far beyond anything we have." "Technology is merely a tool," Zaraketh replied, taking a step closer. "What matters is the courage and wisdom to use it properly. Something your people seem to understand very well, despite being so young as a spacefaring species." Dr. Martinez stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overcoming her nervousness. "If I may ask, how did you learn about Marcus's actions? We had no idea that news of Earth had reached other civilizations." Zaraketh's expression grew more serious. "The galaxy is smaller than you think, Dr. Martinez. The Titan Station incident was observed by Corvani traders who were passing through your system. They spread word of the human engineer who risked his life to save others, even when escape was possible. Such stories travel quickly among those who value honor." "But why would that interest your people?" Admiral Rodriguez asked. "Because my people, the Vailthara, were once very much like yours," Zaraketh explained. "Young, brave, and willing to sacrifice for others. We value these qualities above all else. When the Royal Council learned of Marcus's deeds, they declared him eligible for marriage into our bloodline, according to our most ancient laws." Marcus found his voice again. "But you said you came here to court me according to human customs. What exactly did you have in mind?" Zaraketh's smile returned, and this time there was something playful about it. "I have studied your people's romantic traditions extensively. I understand that humans prefer to build relationships gradually through shared experiences and emotional connection. I am prepared to prove myself worthy of your affection through whatever trials you deem appropriate." "Trials?" Marcus asked, feeling a bit nervous. "Perhaps that is the wrong word," Zaraketh said quickly. "I meant activities. Dates, I believe you call them. I have prepared several options based on my research into human courtship rituals." Admiral Rodriguez cleared her throat. "Your Highness, while we appreciate your interest in our customs, we need to discuss the practical implications of your presence here. You mentioned that your people have enemies. Should we be concerned about retaliation or political complications?" Zaraketh's expression grew darker. "There are those in the galaxy who would see my marriage to a human as either weakness or opportunity. The Morthak Empire has been seeking an excuse to attack Velthara territory for centuries. They may view this as provocation." "And if Marcus refuses your proposal?" Dr. Martinez asked. "Then I will respect his choice and depart in peace," Zaraketh said firmly. "But I hope he will at least give me the opportunity to prove myself. I have traveled very far for this chance." Marcus looked around at his colleagues, seeing a mixture of concern and curiosity on their faces. The rational part of his mind screamed that this was insane. He was being asked to potentially start an interstellar war or marriage to solve humanity's first contact situation. But there was something about Zaraketh that made him want to know more. "What did you have in mind for this courtship?" he asked. Zaraketh's face lit up with joy. "I have prepared a traditional Velthara bonding hunt in your station's holographic recreation facility. We would face challenges together and learn about each other's character through shared adversity." "That sounds dangerous," Admiral Rodriguez said with concern. "All the best relationships involve some element of risk. Zaraketh replied with a grin that showed teeth slightly sharper than human normal. But I promise Marcus will be perfectly safe. I would never allow harm to come to my potential mate. Marcus felt like he was standing at the edge of a cliff, about to jump into the unknown. Everything logical told him to politely decline and let the diplomats handle this situation. But looking into Zaraketh's star-filled eyes, he found himself saying something completely different. All right, one date, but we start small. Maybe dinner first before any bonding hunts. Zaraketh's delighted laughter filled the docking bay like music. The station's main dining hall had been cleared for the most unusual dinner date in human history. Marcus sat across from Zaraketh at a table near the large viewing window that showed Earth hanging in the starry void below. He had changed out of his dress uniform into civilian clothes, trying to make the evening feel more normal despite the circumstances. Zaraketh had also changed, trading her ceremonial armor for what she called casual wear. The outfit still seemed to be made from that strange crystalline material, but it flowed like fabric and shifted colors as she moved. She looked more relaxed, though her skin still maintained that soft inner glow. "This is quite good," she said, taking another bite of the pasta dish the kitchen staff had prepared. "Your food preparation methods are very different from ours, but the flavors are pleasant. What do your people usually eat?" Marcus asked, grateful to have a normal conversation topic. "We cultivate energy-rich plants that grow in our homeworld's crystal caves. They absorb starlight filtered through our atmosphere and convert it into nutrients." Zaraketh paused, noticing Marcus's confused expression. "I suppose that sounds strange to you. Your people consume organic matter directly, while we consume energy that has been processed by living systems. So you're basically vegetarians who eat solar power?" Marcus said with a smile. Zaraketh laughed, the sound like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "That is a very human way to describe it, yes, though we can adapt to most food sources when necessary. My body modified itself to process your food types during the journey here." "You can just modify your body to eat different things?" Marcus asked, impressed despite himself. "Within limits, yes. All Valthera can make minor biological adjustments for survival needs. It is how we have been able to explore so much of the galaxy." She took a sip of water and tilted her head curiously. "Your people cannot do this?" "Not even close. We're pretty much stuck with the bodies we were born with, aside from medical technology." Marcus realized how primitive humans must seem to her. "Does that bother you? That we're so limited compared to your species?" Zaraketh reached across the table and gently touched his hand. Her skin was warm and seemed to tingle with energy. "Marcus, that is exactly why your people fascinate the galaxy. You accomplish incredible things with such limitations. What we can achieve through biological adaptation, you achieve through courage and creativity." Marcus felt a flush of warmth at her touch, though he wasn't sure if it was emotional or some kind of alien effect. "Tell me about your homeworld. What's it like?" "Valthera Prime is beautiful in ways your language cannot fully describe," she said, her eyes taking on a dreamy quality. "Imagine crystal forests that sing in harmony with stellar winds. Cities that float among the clouds, tethered to the surface by chains of pure light. Our sun is binary, so we have two different types of daylight that paint the sky in colors that shift throughout each day." "It sounds amazing," Marcus said honestly. "Very different from Earth. Yes, but I have been studying your world through your global networks. Earth has its own unique beauty. Oceans, forests, mountains carved by time rather than energy patterns. There is something appealing about the permanence of your landscapes." She paused, looking out at Earth through the window. "I would like to visit your planet properly someday. What's stopping you now?" Zaraketh's expression grew more serious. "Politics, unfortunately. My presence here is already causing ripples throughout the galactic community. Several species have begun moving fleets toward this sector, though whether as threats or protection is unclear." Marcus felt a chill. "Because you want to marry a human?" "Because I am the crown princess of the Valthera Empire, and my choice of mate will determine succession laws for the next 1,000 years, she explained. "If I marry you, our children would be heirs to one of the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. That terrifies our enemies and excites our allies." "Children?" Marcus nearly choked on his water. "We're talking about children now?" Zaraketh blushed, her skin glowing brighter blue. "I apologize. I'm getting ahead of myself. Among my people, discussing future offspring is a normal part of courtship evaluation, but I understand humans prefer to address such topics more gradually. Yeah, Let's maybe table the kids' discussion until at least the third date, Marcus said with a nervous laugh. Of course, though I should mention that Vilethera human hybrid offspring are theoretically possible, according to our biological compatibility studies. Marcus stared at her. You've done biological compatibility studies? Standard procedure for all potential interspecies relationships, Zaraketh said matter-of-factly. We are quite thorough in our research. Your genetic structure is surprisingly adaptable. This is the strangest dinner conversation I've ever had, Marcus admitted. Would you prefer to discuss something else? I have been studying human small-talk protocols. We could talk about the weather, though I find your meteorological patterns quite predictable compared to binary star systems. Marcus laughed despite himself. You know what? Let's stick with the strange stuff. At least it's interesting. Tell me about your family. What's it like being a crown princess? Zaraketh's expression softened. Lonely mostly. I have spent my entire life preparing for responsibilities I inherited by birth rather than choice. Every decision I make affects millions of lives across dozens of star systems. There is very little room for personal desires or simple happiness. Now, is that why you came here? To escape responsibility? No, she said firmly. I came here because for the first time in my life, I heard about someone who made choices based on what was right rather than what was expected. When the council declared you eligible for marriage, I saw an opportunity to choose my own path while still fulfilling my duties. Marcus studied her face, seeing something vulnerable beneath her alien beauty. You really traveled across the galaxy just to meet me? I did, and I will be honest with you, Marcus. I could have simply demanded your presence according to our laws, but I wanted to see if the man who risked everything to save others would be someone I could genuinely care for, not just marry for political reasons. And what's your conclusion so far? Zaraketh smiled and her skin glowed warmer. I find you much more interesting than my research suggested. You have a quick mind and a good heart. These are rare qualities anywhere in the galaxy. Before Marcus could respond, his comm unit beeped with an urgent message. Admiral Rodriguez's voice came through clearly. Chen, report to the command center immediately. We have a situation. Marcus looked apologetically at Zaraketh. I'm sorry, but duty calls. She finished for him, standing gracefully. I understand completely. May I accompany you? This situation may involve my presence here. They hurried through the station's corridors together, Zaraketh keeping pace easily despite her flowing robes. Marcus noticed that other crew members stopped to stare as they passed, but Zaraketh seemed comfortable with the attention. The command center was buzzing with activity when they arrived. Admiral Rodriguez turned to meet them, her face grim. We've got 3 separate alien fleets approaching the solar system. Long-range sensors detected them about 20 minutes ago. 3 fleets? Marcus asked, feeling his stomach drop. The good news is one of them appears to be Vilethera ships, the Admiral continued, looking at Zaraketh. I'm assuming those are friendly? Yes, Zaraketh replied, moving to examine the sensor displays. That formation belongs to my personal guard. They followed me here to ensure my safety. And the other 2 fleets? Marcus asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. Admiral Rodriguez's expression darkened. Unknown configurations, but they're definitely armed and heading this way fast. Your girlfriend's presence has apparently attracted some unwanted attention. Marcus looked at Zaraketh, who was studying the tactical displays with the focus of someone trained in military strategy. How much trouble are we in? That depends, she said without looking away from the screens. How much do you trust me? Marcus thought about everything that had happened in the past day. An alien princess had appeared out of nowhere, claimed him as her destined husband, and now hostile fleets were bearing down on Earth because of their dinner date. It was completely insane. I trust you, he heard himself say, surprising himself with how much he meant it. Zaraketh turned to him with a smile that could have powered the station's reactors. Then we may have a chance to save both our peoples and have that second date. The next few hours transformed Luna Station into a war room. Admiral Rodriguez had called up every available ship in the Earth Defense Fleet, though their combined firepower would barely scratch the incoming alien vessels. Zaraketh stood at the main tactical display, her fingers dancing over holographic controls as she coordinated with her arriving Vilethera fleet. The larger hostile fleet belongs to the Morthak Empire, she explained to the assembled human officers. They are aggressive expansionists who have been seeking an excuse to attack Velthara territory for decades. My presence here gives them that excuse. And the smaller fleet? Admiral Rodriguez asked. Corvani raiders. Zaraketh replied with distaste. Scavengers and pirates who follow larger conflicts hoping to profit from the chaos. They will likely hang back until the main battle begins, then attack whoever appears weakest. Marcus studied the tactical readouts with growing dread. The Morthak fleet consisted of 37 heavy warships, each one larger than anything in Earth's arsenal. The Velthara response force had only 15 ships, though they appeared more advanced. It was still going to be a massacre. What are our options? He asked. Limited, Admiral Rodriguez admitted. We can evacuate the civilian population from Luna City to Earth, but our defense platforms won't hold against those kinds of numbers. There is another option, Zaraketh said quietly. I could leave, return to Velthara space and draw the fleets away from your system. No, Marcus said immediately, surprising himself with his vehemence. We don't abandon people. That's not how humans work. Zaraketh looked at him with something like wonder in her star-filled eyes. Even when those people are aliens you barely know? Especially then, Marcus replied. If we're going to be part of a galactic community, we need to start acting like it. Admiral Rodriguez nodded approvingly. Chen's right. We stand together or we don't stand at all. What kind of tactical options do we have? Zaraketh manipulated the holographic display, highlighting various positions around the solar system. The Morthak will expect a conventional space battle. Their ships are heavily armored but not particularly maneuverable. If we could somehow level the playing field. What do you mean? Marcus asked. Your people excel at improvisation and unconventional thinking, Zaraketh explained. The Titan Station incident proved that. You found a solution that no one else would have considered. Marcus felt the weight of expectation settling on his shoulders. What was so special about what I did at Titan Station? You used the station's own atmospheric processors as weapons, she said with admiration. Instead of just evacuating, you converted them into massive electromagnetic pulse generators that disabled the attacking ship's systems. It was brilliant improvisation using available resources. Admiral Rodriguez leaned forward with interest. Could we do something similar here? Marcus's mind started racing, considering possibilities. Luna Station has some of the most powerful industrial equipment in the solar system. The mining lasers, the fusion reactors, the magnetic field generators. He paused, an idea forming. What if we could turn the entire moon into a weapon? Explain, Zaraketh said, her expression intense. The moon's low gravity and lack of atmosphere make it perfect for magnetic acceleration systems, Marcus said, warming to the concept. We could use the mining equipment to create a massive railgun system, launch projectiles at significant fractions of light speed. That's insane, Admiral Rodriguez said. The power requirements alone would be enormous. Not if we tap directly into the lunar core, Marcus replied. The moon has significant metallic deposits. We could use the geothermal energy and create a planet-scale magnetic launcher. Zaraketh was manipulating calculations on her personal device. The mathematics are sound, but the construction time would be extensive. We have perhaps 18 hours before the fleets arrive. Then we need to work fast, Marcus said. And we'll need help from your people. Human determination combined with Velthara technology. You would trust my people to help defend your world? Zaraketh asked. If you trust us to help defend yours, Marcus replied. A new voice interrupted the conversation. Princess Zaraketh, I must speak with you immediately. Everyone turned to see a tall Velthara male in elaborate military armor standing at the entrance to the command center. His skin was a deeper blue than Zaraketh's, and his silver hair was arranged in complex braids that seemed to move independently. His eyes held stars like hers, but they seemed colder somehow. Commander Kylvar, Zaraketh said formally, I did not expect you to arrive so quickly. The council ordered me to retrieve you immediately. Kylvar replied, his gaze sweeping dismissively over the humans present. This foolish romantic adventure has gone too far. You will return to Velthara space before the situation escalates further. I am not ready to leave, Zaraketh said firmly. Your readiness is irrelevant, Kylvar snapped. You are the crown princess of the Velthara Empire. Your duty is to your people, not to primitive aliens who cannot even defend their own system. Marcus felt anger rising in his chest. Hey, watch who you're calling primitive. Kael'var barely glanced at him. You have accomplished nothing that Valthara children could not achieve with basic training. Your technology is millennia behind ours. Your lifespans are embarrassingly brief, and your violent tendencies make you unsuitable for civilized society. Kael'var, enough, Zaraketh commanded, her skin glowing brighter with anger. No, it's okay, Marcus said, stepping forward. He's right about our technology and lifespans. We are primitive compared to your people, but he's wrong about what that means. Enlighten me, Kael'var said with obvious sarcasm. It means we've learned to accomplish incredible things with limited resources and time, Marcus replied. We don't have the luxury of biological adaptation or millennium-long lifespans to solve problems. We have to be creative, fast, and willing to take risks that longer-lived species would never consider. And what does that matter in the face of Morthak battle fleets? Marcus smiled. It means we're going to turn this moon into the biggest gun in the solar system. And we're going to do it in 18 hours using mining equipment and sheer human stubbornness. Kael'var stared at him for a moment, then burst out laughing. You cannot be serious. He is, Zaraketh said quietly, and I believe he can do it. You would risk the princess's life on this human's impossible scheme? Kael'var demanded. I would risk my life to help save both our peoples. Zaraketh corrected. That is what leadership means. Marcus looked between the two Valthara, sensing the tension of a deeper political conflict. What's really going on here? Zaraketh sighed. Kael'var represents the traditional faction of our government. They believe Valthara should remain isolated from younger species, until those species prove themselves worthy of contact. And I believe mixing our bloodline with primitives weakens our entire civilization, Kael'var added bluntly. While I believe that isolation breeds stagnation, Zaraketh countered, your people's creativity and courage could revitalize our culture. Admiral Rodriguez cleared her throat. This is all very interesting, but we have hostile fleets approaching. Are we going to stand here arguing politics, or are we going to defend Earth? Marcus turned to Kael'var. You want proof that humans are worthy of respect? Help us pull off this impossible plan. If we succeed, your princess gets her proof that cooperation between our species can work. If we fail, well, you can return her body to your homeworld with a clear conscience. Marcus, Zaraketh protested. No, he's right, Marcus continued. This is bigger than just our relationship. This is about whether different species can work together, or if we're all going to stay isolated until someone stronger comes along and conquers us separately. Kael'var studied Marcus for a long moment, his stellar eyes unreadable. Finally, he nodded slowly. Very well, human. You have 18 hours to prove your worth. But when this plan fails, the princess returns to Valthara space immediately. Deal, Marcus said, extending his hand. Kael'var looked at the offered hand with confusion until Zaraketh whispered something to him in their musical language. Understanding dawned on his face, and he grasped Marcus's hand firmly. Now, Marcus said, turning back to the tactical display, let's figure out how to save the solar system. 16 hours later, Marcus stood in the Lunar Surface Command bunker, surrounded by a mixture of human engineers and Valthara technicians working frantically at control stations. Through the transparent aluminum windows, he could see the massive construction taking shape across the moon's surface. What had once been mining installations now formed an enormous electromagnetic rail system stretching from pole to pole. Power coupling at 73%, called out Chief Engineer Park, her voice hoarse from hours of constant coordination. Projectile fabrication running ahead of schedule, added Dr. Martinez, who had been working with Valthara materials specialists to create ammunition. The crystalline matrix rounds should penetrate even Morthak armor. Marcus wiped sweat from his forehead and checked the countdown timer. 2 hours until the enemy fleets reached firing range. They were close, but they weren't ready yet. Zaraketh approached him, her own exhaustion showing in the dimmer glow of her skin. She had been working alongside human crews for the entire construction period, using her people's technology to boost human engineering capabilities. How are we doing? She asked quietly. Better than I hoped, worse than I'd like. Marcus replied honestly. The rail system will work, but I'm not sure about the power distribution network. We're pushing every reactor on the moon beyond safe limits. And if the reactors fail? Best case scenario, we lose power and the railgun becomes useless. Worst case, we create a fusion explosion that turns the moon into an asteroid field. Zaraketh nodded calmly. Those are acceptable risks given the alternative. Marcus looked at her with amazement. You're really okay with potentially dying on a moon full of strangers for a plan that might not work? I am okay with dying beside someone who would attempt such a plan to save others, she replied, reaching out to take his hand. That is what my people mean when we speak of honor. Across the command center, Kylvar was coordinating with the Valthara fleet. Marcus had been surprised by how effectively the alien commander had integrated with human tactical planning. Despite his obvious disapproval of the situation, Kylvar had thrown himself into the defense effort with professional dedication. Princess, Kylvar called out, the Morthak fleet has increased speed. They will be within firing range in 90 minutes. Are we ready? Admiral Rodriguez asked, joining the group around the main tactical display. Marcus studied the readouts one more time. As ready as we're going to be. The rail system has 300 rounds of crystalline projectiles ready to fire. Each round carries the kinetic energy of a small nuclear weapon. If we can hit them, we can hurt them. If we can hit them, Kylvar repeated skeptically. The targeting system is entirely theoretical. Hey, most of human space exploration was theoretical until we tried it, Marcus shot back. Sometimes you have to trust the math and hope for the best. Spoken like a true human, Zaraketh said with a smile that made her skin glow brighter. The next hour passed in tense preparation. The rail system came online in sections, each activation sending vibrations through the lunar surface. Marcus watched the power readings climb toward dangerous levels while trying to appear confident for the sake of his crew. Incoming. Transmission from the Morthak fleet. Communications. Officer Park announced. Put it through. Admiral Rodriguez ordered. The main display showed a reptilian creature, with scales that seemed to shift between black and dark green. Its eyes were yellow and predatory, and when it spoke, its voice sounded like gravel in a cement mixer. Primitive humans, the creature hissed. You harbor a Valthara princess who has violated ancient territorial agreements by entering this system. Surrender her immediately, and we will allow your species to survive as vassals to the Morthak Empire. Admiral Rodriguez stepped forward. This is Admiral Rodriguez of the Earth Defense Forces. Princess Zaraketh is here as our invited guest. We don't negotiate with invaders. The Morthak commander's mouth opened in what might have been laughter, revealing rows of sharp teeth. Your entire fleet would not survive 10 minutes against a single Morthak destroyer. You have no power to protect anyone. Maybe not, Marcus said, moving into view of the camera. But we have something you don't expect. And what is that, little human? Human stupidity, Marcus replied with a grin. We're too dumb to know when we're beaten. The alien's eyes narrowed. You will learn respect when your cities burn. The transmission ended, leaving the command center in silence. Admiral Rodriguez looked at Marcus with raised eyebrows. Human stupidity? Sometimes it's our greatest asset, Marcus said with a shrug. Morthak fleet entering extreme firing range, Park announced. Their forward ships are beginning to spread into attack formation. Marcus moved to the railgun control station. All sections report ready? Confirmations came in from around the lunar surface. The massive electromagnetic system was fully powered and loaded. Marcus placed his hand on the firing control, feeling the weight of Earth's survival resting on an engineering project that had been impossible 24 hours ago. Zaraketh, he said without turning around, I need you to know that whatever happens, this has been the strangest and most wonderful day of my life. Only one day? She replied, moving to stand beside him. I was hoping for many more. If this works, you'll get them, Marcus promised. The tactical display showed the Morthak fleet moving into battle formation. 37 massive warships arranging themselves for the destruction of humanity's first line of defense. But Marcus was watching the small red dots representing the Corvani raiders hanging back, waiting to scavenge from the battle. Marcus, Admiral Rodriguez said quietly, whatever you're planning, now would be a good time. Marcus took a deep breath and activated the targeting system. The railgun's sensors locked onto the largest Morthak vessel, a dreadnought that dwarfed anything humans had ever built. The targeting computer calculated trajectory, accounting for the enemy ship's movement and the projectile's incredible velocity. Firing solution locked, he announced. All power to the rail system. The moon trembled as every reactor on its surface fed power into the electromagnetic launchers. In the space above, the crystalline projectile accelerated along the rail system, at a significant fraction of light speed. becoming a streak of pure energy racing toward the Morthak fleet. The round struck the enemy dreadnought exactly where Marcus had aimed it, punching through the alien ship's armor like it was made of paper. The massive vessel shuddered, atmosphere streaming from the wound in its hull, and began listing to one side. The command center erupted in cheers, but Marcus was already targeting the next ship. "Reload and fire again," he shouted. Don't give them time to react. The rail system cycled faster than any conventional weapon, sending projectile after projectile into the alien fleet. The Morthak ships, designed for battles against opponents with similar technology, were completely unprepared for kinetic weapons moving at near light speed. "Impossible," Kael'var breathed, watching the tactical display in amazement. "You are destroying them." "Not destroyed," Marcus corrected, continuing to fire. "But definitely surprised. The question is, will they retreat or adapt?" As if in answer to his question, the Morthak fleet began to change formation. The remaining ships spread out and began evasive maneuvers, making targeting much more difficult. "They're learning," Admiral Rodriguez observed. "Then we need to teach them something else," Marcus replied grimly, switching targets to focus on the nearest group of enemy ships. The battle for Earth's survival had only just begun. The lunar railgun system had destroyed 8 Morthak ships in the first 15 minutes of combat, but the enemy was adapting quickly. The remaining vessels had spread out across a wider formation and were using erratic flight patterns that made targeting extremely difficult. "They're getting smarter," Marcus muttered, watching another crystalline projectile miss its target by several kilometers. "We need a new strategy." "What about the Corvani raiders?" Zaraketh suggested, pointing to the tactical display where the scavenger fleet still hung back from the main battle. "They are waiting to see who wins before choosing sides." Admiral Rodriguez studied the enemy positions. "If we could somehow turn them against the Morthak—" "Unlikely," Kael'var interjected. "Corvani are motivated purely by profit. They will side with whoever offers them the most plunder." Marcus suddenly stopped firing and turned to look at the alien commander. "What do Corvani consider valuable?" "Technology, rare materials, strategic intelligence," Kael'var replied. "Why?" "Because I have an idea," Marcus said, moving to the communications station. "Park, can you open a channel to the Corvani fleet?" "Are you insane?" Admiral Rodriguez demanded. "We're in the middle of a battle." "Trust me," Marcus said, echoing Zaraketh's earlier words. "Sometimes the best defense is a good business proposal." The communication system crackled, and a new alien voice came through the speakers. This one sounded crafty and amused, with an accent that reminded Marcus of old Earth merchant traders. "Well, well," the voice said, "the famous human engineer who has been causing so much trouble. I am Captain Vexthara of the Corvani Free Traders. You fight impressively for such a young species." "Thank you," Marcus replied. "I have a business proposition for you." Laughter echoed through the comm system. "A human wishes to negotiate during battle? How delightfully unpredictable. Speak your terms." "The Morthak fleet has advanced technology and valuable materials," Marcus said. "But if they win this battle, they'll claim everything as spoils of war." "You'll get nothing." "True," Vexthara admitted. "Continue. But if you help us defeat them, we'll split the salvage rights 50-50. Plus, we'll share the railgun technology that you just saw in action." The comm channel went quiet for a moment. Marcus could almost hear the alien captain calculating profits. "The railgun technology is indeed impressive," Vexthara finally said. "But why should we trust humans to honor such an agreement?" "Because unlike the Morthak, we don't have a history of conquering our business partners," Marcus replied. "We prefer long-term relationships to short-term profits." Admiral Rodriguez stared at Marcus in disbelief. "You're offering to give advanced weapons technology to pirates?" "I'm offering to give it to allies," Marcus corrected. "There's a difference." "Captain Vexthara," Zaraketh interjected, moving to the comm station. "I am Princess Zaraketh of the Velthara Empire. I personally guarantee that any agreement made here today will be honored by both our species." The channel crackled with what sounded like surprised muttering in an alien language. When Vexthara spoke again, his tone was much more respectful. "Princess, your reputation precedes you. If you guarantee this bargain—" The Corvani captain paused. "Very well. But we want 70% of the salvage rights." 60%, Marcus countered immediately. "Deal," Vexthara replied so quickly that Marcus realized he probably could have gotten a better split. Corvani fleet moving to attack formation, Park announced, watching her sensors. They're targeting the Morthak rear guard. The battle dynamics changed instantly. The Morthak fleet, caught between the lunar railgun system and the suddenly hostile Corvani raiders, broke formation and began fighting on two fronts. Marcus took advantage of their confusion to score several more hits with the railgun. "This is actually working," Admiral Rodriguez said with amazement. "Don't sound so surprised," Marcus replied, tracking another target. "Humans have been making impossible alliances since we figured out how to talk." The Valthara fleet, led by Kael'var's command ship, joined the engagement from a third angle. The combined human Corvani-Valthara force began systematically dismantling the Morthak fleet. "Enemy flagship is requesting communication," Park announced. "Put them through," Admiral Rodriguez ordered. The reptilian Morthak commander appeared on screen again, but this time his expression was furious rather than confident. "You dare use pirates and aliens against the mighty Morthak Empire?" "We use whatever works," Marcus replied. "That's what makes us dangerous. This battle proves nothing," the alien snarled. "The Morthak Empire will remember this humiliation. We will return with greater fleets and reduce your pathetic world to ash." "Actually," Zaraketh said, stepping into view, "that would violate the Galactic Accords on territorial sovereignty. Earth is now under Valthara protection as an allied world." The Morthak commander's eyes widened. "You cannot claim a primitive world as an ally. The Council of Species will never recognize such an agreement." "They will when they see the military technology humans just demonstrated." Kael'var's voice came through on the comm channel. "Any species capable of turning a moon into a weapon system in 18 hours clearly qualifies for galactic citizenship." Marcus looked at Zaraketh with surprise. "Is that what just happened?" "We just joined the galactic community. If you want to," she replied with a smile, "though it comes with certain responsibilities and expectations, such as honoring marriage contracts with allied royal families," she said with a grin that made her skin glow brightly. The Morthak commander made a sound of disgust. "This is not over, humans. The Empire has a long memory." "So do we," Admiral Rodriguez replied. "And we're fast learners." The transmission ended as the last Morthak ships either retreated or surrendered. The command center filled with cheers and exhausted laughter as the reality of their victory began to sink in. Marcus slumped into a chair, suddenly feeling the weight of 18 hours without sleep. "I can't believe that actually worked." "I can," Zaraketh said, sitting beside him. "I told you that your people's creativity and courage could change the galaxy. Today proved it." Captain Vexthera's voice crackled through the comm system again. "Humans, your unconventional tactics have made this day quite profitable. The Corvani free traders are honored to call you allies." "The honor is mutual," Marcus replied. "Just remember our agreement about the technology sharing." "Of course. Though I must warn you, the galaxy is about to become very interested in humanity. Word of this battle will spread quickly." Kael'var's ship docked with the lunar station an hour later. The Valthara commander entered the command center looking tired but impressed. He approached Marcus directly. "Human," he said formally, "I owe you an apology. I believed your species was too primitive to be worthy of Valthara alliance. Today you proved that technological advancement means nothing without the courage to use it wisely." "Thank you," Marcus replied. "Does this mean you approve of your princess's choice?" Kael'var looked at Zaraketh, who was still sitting close to Marcus. "I believe the princess has chosen well. Your species may be young, but you have the qualities that make for strong allies and worthy mates." Zaraketh stood and moved to Marcus's side. "So now that we have saved both our worlds and impressed the skeptics, perhaps we could discuss that second date?" Marcus laughed, feeling lighter than he had since this whole adventure began. "What did you have in mind?" "Something quiet this time," she replied. "Perhaps a picnic on Earth? I would like to see those oceans and forests I have been studying." "That sounds perfect," Marcus agreed, "though I should probably warn you that dating on Earth might be a little boring after today." Zaraketh's laugh filled the command center like music. "Marcus Chan, I have a feeling that nothing involving you will ever be boring." As Earth rose over the lunar horizon, Marcus realized that his life had changed forever. He was no longer just an engineer fixing broken machines. He was humanity's first galactic diplomat, a defender of Earth, and apparently the future husband of an alien princess. It was going to be an interesting relationship. 6 months later, Marcus stood on a cliff overlooking the Pacific Ocean on Earth. watching Zaraketh as she experienced her first Earth sunset. The alien princess had adapted to life on his homeworld with remarkable grace, though she still glowed softly in the fading light. "Your sun is so different from our binary stars," she said, her hand finding his as they watched the golden orb sink toward the horizon. "There is something peaceful about having just one source of light." "Do you miss your homeworld?" Marcus asked. "Sometimes," she admitted, "but I have found something here that I never had on Valthera Prime." "What's that?" "A choice in my own destiny," she replied, turning to smile at him. "And someone who sees me as Zaraketh the person, not just the crown princess." The past 6 months had been a whirlwind of change for both Earth and Marcus personally. The victory over the Morthak fleet had indeed thrust humanity onto the galactic stage, bringing both opportunities and challenges. Earth now hosted diplomatic missions from dozens of species, and human engineering teams were working on joint projects across the galaxy. Marcus himself had become something of a celebrity. The human engineer who turned a moon into a weapon was apparently quite famous in certain galactic circles. He had given lectures at the Valthera Imperial Academy and consulted on defensive systems for 3 different star systems. But the most significant change had been his relationship with Zaraketh. What had started as an impossible situation had grown into something neither of them had expected: genuine love between 2 very different beings. "Marcus," Zaraketh said softly, "there is something we need to discuss." He heard the serious tone in her voice and turned to face her fully. "What is it?" "The Valthera Council has been pressuring me to return home. There are political situations that require my attention, and some council members still believe my extended stay on Earth shows weakness." Marcus felt his heart sink. "How long do you have?" "The council has given me 1 month to return and assume my full royal duties," she said. "After that, they will consider me to have abdicated my position." "Would that be so terrible?" Marcus asked. "You could stay here, be a regular person instead of a princess." Zaraketh was quiet for a moment, watching the last of the sunset fade into twilight. "My people need strong leadership, Marcus. The galaxy is changing rapidly since your species emerged onto the scene. If I abandon my responsibilities, others will suffer for it." Marcus understood, but it didn't make the situation any easier. "So what are our options?" "The council will accept my marriage to you, but only if you agree to come to Valthera Prime and take on the role of Prince Consort," she explained. "You would help me rule one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy." "And leave Earth behind?" "Not forever. We could visit regularly, and Earth would benefit greatly from our formal alliance. But yes, our primary residence would need to be on my homeworld." Marcus stared out at the darkening ocean, considering the impossible choice: stay on Earth and lose the woman he loved, or leave everything he had ever known to become an alien prince. "There is a third option," Zaraketh said hesitantly. "I'm listening." "We could try to change the system itself," she said. "Challenge the traditional ways of doing things and create something new." "How?" Zaraketh took a deep breath. "What if Earth became the new seat of Valthera power? We could move the imperial capital here, making this system the center of a new kind of galactic government." Marcus stared at her in shock. "You want to move the capital of a galactic empire to Earth? Why not? Your world has already proven itself as a place where different species can work together. The Corvani have established permanent trading posts here. The Valthera fleet uses Luna Station as a forward base. Even some of the minor species have sent ambassadors. But would the Council accept that? They might if we could prove that Earth offers something Valthera Prime cannot," she said. "A fresh perspective, new ways of solving old problems, and a species that specializes in the impossible." Marcus felt excitement beginning to build. "What would that mean for humanity?" "It would mean Earth becomes the most important world in the galaxy," Zaraketh replied. "Humans would have a voice in galactic politics equal to any species. Your people's innovations and perspectives would help shape the future of countless civilizations." "And the risks?" "Enormous," she admitted. "If we fail, both our peoples could suffer. Earth would become a target for every enemy the Valthera Empire has made over the centuries, and I could lose my crown entirely." Marcus was quiet for several minutes, weighing possibilities against dangers. Finally, he made his decision. "Let's do it," he said. Zaraketh turned to him with surprise. "Just like that?" "Just like that," Marcus confirmed. 6 months ago, you took a huge risk by coming here. Now it's my turn to take a risk for you. Besides, someone once told me that all the best relationships involve some element of danger. Zaraketh's skin glowed brighter as she smiled. And if we fail? Then we fail together, Marcus replied. But if we succeed, we might just change the galaxy for the better. The Council will never agree to this easily, she warned. Then we'll have to convince them, Marcus said with a grin. I'm getting pretty good at impossible negotiations. 1 month later, Marcus stood in the Great Assembly Hall on Velthara Prime, addressing the Imperial Council. The crystalline chamber was filled with representatives from across the Empire, their bioluminescent forms creating a galaxy of lights in the vast space. Honored counselors, he said, his voice carrying clearly through the translation systems. I stand before you not as a conqueror or a politician, but as an engineer who has learned that the best solutions often come from combining different strengths, the council murmured among themselves in their musical language. Marcus had spent weeks preparing for this moment, learning as much as he could about Velthara customs and politics. Earth offers something unique to the galaxy, he continued, not just human ingenuity, but a world where multiple species already work together as equals, where new ideas are valued over ancient traditions, where the measure of a person is their actions, not their bloodline. Council member Yarkol, an ancient Velthara whose skin had turned almost silver with age, spoke up. You ask us to abandon a homeworld our people have inhabited for 50,000 years. What makes you think this primitive world could serve our needs? Because this primitive world just saved the galaxy from a Morthak invasion using moon-sized weapons built in 18 hours, Marcus replied. Because this primitive world has already become a meeting place for species that have been enemies for centuries. And because sometimes the best way to solve an old problem is to try a completely new approach. Princess Zaraketh rose from her position at the front of the assembly. The council must choose, she said formally. We can continue doing things as we always have, growing more isolated and rigid with each passing century. Or we can embrace change and build something better. The vote, when it came, was closer than anyone had expected. The proposal to establish Earth as a secondary capital passed by just 3 votes out of more than 200. It is not perfect, Zaraketh said to Marcus as they stood together on the balcony of her chambers later that evening. But it is a beginning. All the best changes start with small steps, Marcus replied, putting his arm around her waist. Are you ready for this? Really ready? She asked. Your life is about to become much more complicated. Marcus looked out at the alien landscape of Velthara Prime, with its singing crystal forests and floating cities. In a few days they would return to Earth to begin the massive undertaking of building a new kind of galactic government. It would be difficult, dangerous, and quite possibly impossible. I'm ready, he said. Besides, I've got the best partner in the galaxy. And I, Zaraketh replied, her skin glowing warm in the alien starlight, have the most stubborn human in the universe. Together, we might just accomplish the impossible. 5 years later, Earth had indeed become the diplomatic center of the galaxy. The former Luna station had grown into a massive complex that hosted representatives from hundreds of species. Human innovation combined with alien wisdom had solved problems that had plagued the galaxy for millennia. Marcus Chen, now Prince Consort of the Velthara Empire and Earth's chief diplomatic engineer, still fixed broken things, but instead of water recyclers and atmospheric processors, he now fixed broken relationships between entire civilizations, and every evening he still watched the sunset with his wife, the alien woman who had crossed the stars to find him and ended up changing the galaxy forever. Their children, when they came, would grow up in a universe where differences were celebrated rather than feared, where species worked together instead of against each other, and where love could bridge any gap between the stars. It had all started with an impossible declaration and the courage to believe in the impossible. Sometimes, Marcus reflected, that was all it took to change everything.